Hi, welcome back to Crafting a Country Life. I've got a project share that I'd like to show you today, and I will be posting this on Saturday Morning Makes, which is hosted by Jill Norwood. I made up a couple of cards, and I used a few new items that I had gotten recently, earlier this past month, and some older things that I had in my stash. So the first item is this card, which I just fell in love with. And this was so much fun to build and to play around with some of my cardstock selections and my markers. I had such a fun time making these. This is the second one here. So I used the same stamp on these. And then I just changed up the colors and the backgrounds and kind of the feel. This is a little bit more, has more of a primitive feel with the checks and the, the off-white and the old buttons and so on. And this one has just a little bit more of a floral feel to it. This one has some pink and, some cream and craft colors as well. But what I used, let me show you, on both cards is, I had purchased these from Impression Obsession, which, as many of you know that join in with the Saturday Morning Makes videos, a lot of the gals were saying that Impression Obsession will be discontinuing some of their rubber cling stamps. So they're having a sale, and I visited their website earlier this month, and I picked up these three kind of primitive looking doll stamps, which I just saw them and I fell in love with them, so I bought three. They have quite a few more. I think there's probably 3 or 4 other primitive doll stamps as well that go with this line. These are Alessa Baker designs. So I used this one here, but here's the cat. Isn't that just so cute? And this one is a Christmas themed primitive doll, like a little stuffed muslin doll style. So here's the back of the package, and you can see the rubbery cling stamp in there. So what I did was I used my waterproof ink pad, and I stamped, I can show you here with this little sample. I stamped it first onto some watercolor paper. Actually, I stamped it out quite a few times, and some of the papers that I use are cardstock, like this one. And both of these were done, this one was done on cardstock, but this one was done on watercolor paper because I wanted to just experiment a little bit and see what the difference would be using the marker technique that I use to color these in. So after I stamped them, I used my set of Crayola Super Tips. And I had picked these up at Walmart for, I don't know, $14 or $15 for the entire box. And there are 100 of these that come in the package. Okay, so here we go. And these are washable. And I specifically wanted the washable because you can do like a watercolor effect with the washable markers pretty easily. So I colored in some areas with the markers after I wet that area with a paintbrush. Then I went in and I just used a little bit of color here and there, and it tended to blend in with the water and move around a little bit more once I had that marker on top of the wet watercolor paper. Same thing down here. I mean, they really look like watercolor paintings, but I used markers to get that effect. So, and again, $15 for an entire box of these. Now, I don't use the Copics and all of the other more expensive markers only because I work in a lot of different media, and, from my perspective, I just kind of feel like, at least right now in my process, they're so expensive, and to have a beautiful collection of them is wonderful. But I thought, I'm just getting started with this a little bit. I'm going to go with the less expensive ones. And being an art teacher at the elementary level, I've had a lot of experience using these materials in inventive ways, believe me. So I can say that for me, to spend the $15 on a box of 100 just to play around a little bit was well worth my time. And I'm getting some beautiful results just using the markers and some water and a brush. I just think these look really nice. Now, the other piece is this warped only very slightly on the watercolor paper. I haven't tried it on the cardstock yet. I imagine it's going to warp slightly as well, but it wasn't a problem because once it was fully dry, I used my travel iron. This is an Oliso, which I absolutely love, and this also comes with us when we take our camping trips. It's small, it doesn't take up a lot of space, it's not heavy. You can fill the tank with water and it'll give you spray and so on, and it's got a silicone mat so that you can set it down without it burning anything. So this comes with us in the camper as well. And I find it really handy in the craft room. I don't have to dig out my big iron and my ironing board, which is big. And you can wrap the cording right around, you know, like so when you want to store it. So this is a great little product. I also use it for when I'm sitting at my sewing machine. If I'm doing any hand piecing or whatnot, I can simply have it sitting near my sewing machine with one of these. You know, it's a quilter's cut and press. I've had this forever. So I, keep this together right near the sewing machine, or in this case, right near my paper crafting table, and I'm good to go. So I press carefully. I don't put it on super high heat. I have it on like a medium heat, and then I just gently press without steam on the front and the back of the watercolor paper or the cardstock, and it flattens out the papers beautifully so that I can attach them easily to whatever, background I'm using. Okay, so that was very successful, I think, in terms of the product and the results. I used a little bow in the corner and tied a vintage button on there. I've had these forever. I have actually quite a few buttons. These are the white ones. And I've got several tinfuls of different types of vintage buttons that I had inherited from my mother and from friends who didn't want them. They were old family pieces, so believe me, I have plenty of buttons. So it was fun selecting the buttons. And these are beautiful. They're pearl buttons. They're actual pearl buttons. So they have a little bit of a holographic look to them. On this card, I used the same materials. I used the Super Tip Crayola markers and some water, and just did some coloring in and used some water on there to blend and give it sort of a natural look. I used a little bit of old denim, cut this out, and then added a Tim Holtz vintage sticker, a little text sticker that says "Corner of Your Heart" right there. And the paper that I used for this card, all right, let's see. I used this package here. Now I got this on at the Frantic Stamper website and fell in love with this. I believe this is scrapbooking from Sweden. It's a Maja Design Denim and Girls collection. Love that. So I used that. Both of those pieces came from that collection here in the background. And then I used an off-white, kind of a creamy color cardstock for the image, for stamping the image. And around this is a cardstock card that I created as the background. And then over here, I used some old tea-dyed, I had some tea-dyed muslin. So I used that as the base for the kind of the belly band underneath. And then I put this Michaels, I got this on clearance at Michaels after Christmas. Oh gosh, it was 70% off, so I didn't pay much for it. And there's quite a bit of this beautiful kind of burlap look ribbon. So that went on top, as you can see right here. I just glued that on. Then I mounted my card base and so on. After I colored this, I mounted everything together. Yeah, so this was a really fun experiment. This card here, what did I use? Oh, this paper pad here I'd gotten at Joann's quite a long time ago. It might have been last summer. It's called Perfect Moments, They carry this, or at the time anyway, they did carry this in the 12 by 12 size as well, but I liked the small prints in this 6 by 6 pad. They're a little bit, better for card making. Lots of beautiful floral, very sweet background images in, pinks, off-whites, craft cardstock color. Seems to be kind of the theme here. You can see, and they have different textures as well. This has like a glossy, like an embossed surface. I don't know if you can see that with the light shining on it. Very pretty. So I used that little floral as the ribbon here in the background. Then again, I just layered the torn muslin strip and the Michaels ribbon on top. The edges of the paper here were cut using my paper shapers. I used the Fiskars paper shapers at school. They seem to be very sturdy. This brand, I don't even remember where. I've had these forever. These are called Provo Craft, and these are my own personal ones that I have at home. And so far, I mean, I use them from time to time at home. They seem to be fine. But I can also vouch, the Fiskars are very good quality. We get a lot of hard use at school with the Fiskars paper shapers. And the Fiskars come in lots of different patterns. This is the paper shapers, as I mentioned, but yeah. So I did use this one. Some of these papers in this pad are pearlized, like this white one here. Some are double-sided and some are single. Some have a matte finish, some have glossy, some are embossed. This has a really nice pearlized look here. So this is a really fun paper pad. If you check Joann's website or their stores, you may actually still see them on the shelf. Some of them have a very textured background, like this feels like old wallpaper. It's single-sided, but it's got the same wallpaper texture on the back side as it has on the front. So a really fun and versatile pad that has some very sweet vintage flair, pieces in it. Okay. The other thing that I used was this DMC crochet cotton that I had picked up at Goodwill. And I am saving all of my sewing and vintage themed labeling, package wrappings. These make beautiful ephemeras to include in your card making and journal making. So don't throw away your old labels. Hang on to them. Here is the border that I used to make the card. This is from AliExpress. I've had this for a while. And again, some beautiful stitching along the scalloped edge. And that's what I used here. It does cut into 2 pieces, so I had to, glue the base inside of the frame when I put this together. So that worked out really well. This is the paint set that I used just to do the wings. This is the Prima Vintage Pastels watercolor paint set, and I have shared this on previous videos, but I'll quickly open it up so you can see. These are all very soft, pretty pastel colors. And the only part of the cards that I used that for was just back here on the wings, the little gray area. This one as well, right here. There. That is the end of my share for this week. Oh, there is one more thing I just wanted to mention. I don't know if people have opinions on these things, but I have these cutter bee scissors, and I have a couple pairs of these. I absolutely love them. If you have scissors that you really love, leave a comment below and let me know, because I'm always looking for tools that people have, good feelings about. These are very sharp. They seem to have a really nice point on them. I use them constantly for getting into small, intricate areas, and they have never failed me. I've had these for about 5 years, and they have a nice little case to keep the blades protected from damage. Yeah. And not expensive. You can pick them up on sale sometimes in the craft store. So this is the Cutter Bee brand. I do like those a lot. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I had picked up this tip from Anna White. Hi Anna, if you happen to be tuning in. And this is my dressmaker's tracing wheel. And Anna had suggested, and I know a lot of ladies use this technique, that you can take the tracing wheel and create your own, stitching dots around your cardstock. So I did use this. It's probably a little hard to see on the camera, but I did use it along the edge of this card. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see. So hang on to the old tracing wheels if you have them, and they're not too expensive to purchase at the store either. So this is a good way to use those plain dies that don't have stitching that you'd like to add a little stitching to. Great idea. Thank you for that tip, Anna. Okay, and I think that is it for today. So I hope you enjoyed this. I really had a wonderful time making these cards and using some of these less common items like the old bits of denim. We all have old blue jeans laying around, old things that we might normally cast off, but sometimes if you save them aside, you can use them in your card making and your mixed media projects to give a really fun look. Okay, take care for now, and we'll see you sometime soon.